my friends, and welcome back to the single greatest podcast that has ever been created in the history of Gene Roddenberry's left frontal lobe. This is, of course, Star Trek Zhuzh-erations, where myself and my co-host take questionable episodes of Star Trek, and we don't slate them, we don't tear them to pieces, we just give them a little zhuzh. We just give them a little zhuzh, see what it would take to tidy them up. Unless, of course, you're like me and I go mad one week and I write a full novel series and have to be reminded that, like, there is such a thing as a budget. My name is Sean Ferrick. You might know me from such things as Trek culture and, of course, your nightmares. And joining me, as always, is the wonderful, the incredible, the slightly iridescent Jack Tracy. How are you, Jack?
ALLAMARAINE, bitches.
Best response ever.
ALLAMARAINE. Oh my god, this episode. Hi everybody, I'm Jack Tracy, professional homosexual, and we are here to talk about Move Along Home, the Chutes and Ladders of the Star Trek universe. We're going to get all the way to that third Shap, baby, all the way. And I can't wait. You know, there are actually good things about this episode. There are actually good things. This has, as I have grown up, I must have taken in things from other media that maybe I'm putting onto this episode, and it is nowhere near as bad as, say, the reputation it has. Nowhere near. But then you go on Memory Alpha and you look at like the behind the scenes stuff, and they all loved this episode.
It was silly. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into it because you're right. There's a lot of interesting stuff behind the scenes on this one.
I would say this is now the fourth one we have done. I would say this was the most watchable of the four we've done. Well, no, Sub Rosa, because, you know, Ghost Candle Sex.
It's got to be Sub Rosa. But yes, I'll put this at number 2.
And this is number 2. Yeah. All right, so before we have decided between the two of us off camera, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to speed through these plot summaries because we're kind of treating this as if you haven't seen this episode. If you listen to this podcast, you have seen every episode. So let's just breeze through the plot summary real quick just to make sure we're all on the same page, and then we can just really dive into what we liked and what we didn't like. Sean, take us through.
Grant. Okay, here's my elevator pitch for this episode. We get to meet our first new race from the Gamma Quadrant, the Wadi. They arrive on the station. They are games masters.
Not the first new.
Not the first new.
Hunter and the
Tusk is the first one.
Mm-hmm. This is the first official first contact from the Gamma Quadrant.
Do you know what we got to do? We don't edit that out. I own my mistakes on this podcast. We leave that in. All right. So. ALLAMARAINE. All right, so the second, the ones no one gives a crap about, the Wadi, turn up on the station, and they are the games masters. They arrive and they ask for Quark, which makes Sisko just basically shudder with fear. They arrive down in Quark's. Quark tries to cheat them at Dabo because he's Quark, and they were just like, yeah, we have a different game, and they produce the game Chula, and they set the pieces up on the board. Quark thinks he's having a great time, and the next thing, slightly confusing, Ben Sisko wakes up in a room. And we don't really know what's going on. As it turns out, Sisko, Dax, Kira, and Bashir have taken the place of Quark's pieces on the board. They have been transported to this other dimension, if you like, where the game takes place. Odo becomes aware that they are missing from the station, which raises the stakes of the game slightly, and they must play through in a slightly unclear, is Quark playing or are they playing?
And what's the game and what?
So the game is Chula, and that is pretty much all we're told about the game. Yeah. Collections of gemstones are being handed over. Quark seems to be doing well for a while. Then he doesn't, and then Bashir gets zapped. We will spend time on ALLAMARAINE. Don't you worry about that. Everyone has heard ALLAMARAINE somewhere. Like, there are the two greatest, most frightening tunes ever written. One is ALLAMARAINE, count to 4, ALLAMARAINE, 34, which of course is number 1. Number 2 being 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Because you get the same feeling of dread every time you hear these.
Isn't there I don't watch horror. Isn't there a Children of the Corn song too? Don't they do something?
Actually, Children of the Corn, that's one I've not seen. I've read the story, but I've not actually seen because there's like 150 films.
Right. No, the ALLAMARAINE thing is hella creepy, and I really wish, because they tried to do it with a couple camera angles, I wish they really would have leaned into the creepy. They like half.
Funny you should
did
say
the
that.
creepy. Anyway, take it.
Funny you should say that, Jack. Right, so yeah, they arrive in a room full of smoke. So the players, they are clearly the ones figuring out the clues. So yes, Quark is standing by a board and everyone's making a lot of noise, but they're not actually doing anything. There was a great scene where Fallow, who is the head of the What I, says, right, you got to sacrifice one of your pieces. And Armin Jimmerman just brings the house down with this begging scene. He gets down on his hands and knees, begs them not to make him make this choice. And they say, that's fine. We'll choose for you. They're like, sorry, what? In the game, then, this is represented with Bashir has been vaporized. Dax doesn't break her leg, but is injured and so can't move on. And the next thing, they all fall off their cliff and they arrive in Quark's bar. And the What I are looking at everyone like they've got two heads going, what's your problem? It's a game. And the joke has been on us the whole time.
Nice to see the chain of command set back from the rock face. That is certainly, that's what that is.
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah, this is definitely Planet Hell.
But also, like, I think they were filmed right around, like, that's right around the same time.
It would be, yeah, because obviously, yeah, season 6 of TNG, you're right, that's filming concurrently with season 1. Actually, you're even more right. I was doing a pod on TNG season 6 last night. Ship in a Bottle
that's such a great show.
Was the first episode to air after Emissary. So it would be, you're right. And Ship in the Bottle being the follow-up to Chain of Command. Not the follow-up, but the next episode after Chain of Command. Yeah, you're right.
So it's certainly extremely similar.
Oh, you're absolutely right, yeah.
You know, the one thing in the summary that we missed, which the reason that I think we skipped over it is because it has nothing to do with the rest of the show, but is probably the best part with an asterisk, is Jake and Sisko and their conversations about, like,
I knew you were going to say that.
Women, and now they never really get into it, but there is this. I love Ben and Jake. I love their relationship. Yeah. You can tell it's Avery Brooks' favorite part of the show. He loves playing with, Cirroc Lofton and developing that Jake-Ben relationship. It's great. When they talk to each other, it's great. I love their chemistry. They do feel like a father and son. However, I find that Star Trek always writes adolescent boys like creepy old men. I don't know many straight boys. Period. Okay. And then
end of sentence.
End of sentence. And then I don't remember from my childhood, like, 12 and 13-year-olds, like, we gotta go look at the girls. What are the girls doing? I gotta go look at them. Like, I don't remember that sort of predatory. I don't remember that ever happening. Predatory.
That's a really good point.
I don't remember that ever happening in, like, guys would have crushes on girls and guys would like girls and guys would talk about girls, but I don't remember this sort of, like, Grease, like, let's all hang out at the Dick Dock and watch the fish come in. Like, blah, blah, blah. Sorry for all that imagery.
Jack, that is one of the most horrific sentences I've heard you say.
Right,
the Dick Dock and watch the fish come in.
Because I was thinking of it from, like,
it's so sad because I know exactly what you mean as you say that, and that is viscerally upsetting.
Jake and Nog at the Dick Dock looking for fish, baby. ALLAMARAINE. ALLAMARAINE. It's so gross and weird. And then also, he doesn't get into it, but Ben Sisko does do a little bit like, you gotta treat a lady like this. And it's very dated. It's very like, the whole, like, courtship, like, in order to acquire a female, you must,
Well, at least the Ferengi are open about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that has nothing. I guess the only reason it exists in the show is, one, Cirroc Lofton needs to appear because Miles O'Brien isn't there, so they're already one person down. And two, I guess it's the thing that, like, Dad didn't wake up to tell me about pussy, so, Odo, where is he? I guess that's it. You're writing down, Dad didn't wake up to tell me about pussy.
No, I'm trying not to throw up. I have in, it's not really a spoiler, but I have this thing that we leave, I
Oh, it's weird. It's
weird. Rethinking this podcast.
I'm conflating my other podcast. So that's the episode. Do you have any memories of, like, watching it in real time?
This one, I could just say I remember, and it's one of the ones that stuck with me, probably for all of the reasons that it gets completely ripped to shreds for these days. The ALLAMARAINE song. I do remember the smoke room and the drink.
I remembered it as it was happening. When it started, I was like, oh, I remembered this. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I remember. Like, I love it. I genuinely love about the ALLAMARAINE, because it's now infamous. So the ALLAMARAINE scene, I love the fact that Dax, between them they figure it out. So Bashir figures out that it's the steps, and Dax figures out that you have to say the words as well, right? Dax says nothing to anyone about how those words need to be delivered. She steps on and goes, ALLAMARAINE, count to 4, ALLAMARAINE, then 3 more, and then you'll see, ALLAMARAINE, you'll come with me. Avery Brooks was having none of that nonsense, and all of his musical blues, everything just burst out. ALLAMARAINE, count to 4, ALLAMARAINE. I was like, what is this?
I think maybe Terry Farrell just can't sing and doesn't want to expose that.
I don't know. Well, I mean, the kid couldn't sing, but she tried. But I was just like, I mean, Avery Brooks is making a different show to everybody else here, and he is having fun while doing it.
He is having a really fun, and his stuff with the wadi and the face tat iridescent costume, like this is the first Gamma Quadrant, this is the first contact. These fucking people, like you'd think that in season 1 of the show, they'd be like, okay, so we've got the wormhole. It's we had like a rando person come through. Now it's like, okay, this is the first contact. We're finally getting the Gamma Quadrant, and they treat it like it's like some one-off stupid species we don't care about and we'll never see again. Like, why wasn't it more of an event? It should have been more of an event for it to be the first.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I think so. Like, I wonder, because I know Emissary was expensive.
Oh, yeah. And it looked
they put it did. Like, it's one of the better looking pilots of Star Trek.
I think it's the best pilot. I think it's the best pilot of Star Trek.
I'm not going to rush to disagree with you. It does everything it needs to do. But then, like, the problem is that they built this amazing set for the Promenade, and then they blew it up and had to rebuild it again. So they were kind of running on a slight deficit of money, and so I mean, this both is and isn't a bottle show, because they had to build that set for the Chula game.
And it looked all new. Like, I don't remember any of those
think so, yeah.
sets. So the things that I remember about this episode in real time, I don't remember this episode. I mean, I do remember like watching it and being like, this is dumb. But I very clearly remember the premiere of season 1 of Deep Space Nine. This was my like prime Star Trek years, because I'm still playing with action figures. So like I remember buying every single Deep Space Nine Playmates action figure, getting the Orinoco. I didn't have enough money to get the Deep Space Nine from Playmates. I remember all of that. I remember playing with them in the backyard and like in my living in my bedroom, in my living room. Like I remember toys when it comes to first season of Deep Space Nine, because I'm still very much playing with toys. And I remember not having enough money to buy. I saw Dax in dress uniform at
that's right,
a store that doesn't exist anymore. It was like a pre-Target Target, and they had one because they rarely ever had the female characters, and they had one, and I didn't have the money, and so I put it on layaway along with a Bashir and something else, and I had to like pay it throughout the summer. Layaway doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. And paid.
I know of it. Like I know it
throughout the
TV.
summer until like I think it was then in like August I paid off the last payment and then got it. But like so these are things that I remember from it. Very much toys. But this episode, so my gripes with this episode. So the things I like about this episode: Jake and Ben, Quark having a human moment, Odo's doing a great job, and I do love a featured day player role. I love that they sort of gave Odo this Starfleet security person to boss around. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I like a featured day player. That's fun. Because obviously that would have been O'Brien if Colmini wasn't on vacation. Yeah. So that's pretty much, and I think it wasn't until they went into the game that it became a bad episode. It started off as just like, oh, this is a mediocre story of the week, all good acting, except for the fact that when they meet the Wadi, like, why is Jadzia even there? Because she literally has no lines. She's just standing there the whole time. Which is weird. So anyway, but I was, I was fine with the episode up until that point. Things I don't like. I can't believe this was a David Carson episode because the directing in this episode.
I know. I saw it. I was so surprised to see that.
Horrific. They have Kira acting fucking crazy. They have her being a character of herself. Like, Not a Visitor is probably my favorite part of Deep Space Nine. One of the most incredible characters. She is an incredible actress. I love Kira fucking Nerys. And thank God, as though I love her very much, thank God Michelle Forbes said no to a series and that we have Kira Nerys because of that. Because she is
I agree.
Fucking incredible. And they really do her dirty in this episode. They make, I'm a Bajoran, I'm a goddammit, yell, 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 I'm a Bajoran administrator. Like, what the like, I liked that she was kind of wild in the first season and she had an arc, but this was too much. Also, Bashir was being too... Also, I didn't pack my dress uniform. The fuck are replicators, Bashir? Replicate yourself in a new dress uniform. This doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because, like, there is this great thing of, is there a reason for Garrick to exist? Because they talk about, you know, putting Molly's clothes back into the replicator, things like that. So in general, obviously there is because money exists, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, for a Starfleet officer, you probably have access to a replicator that can give you a dress uniform.
Right. So for your uniform and your dress uniform, I agree. I do believe Garrick has a purpose because I bet you it's one of those things where it's like, sure, I can get, you know, airplane food, but like, I want I want a premium experience. Like, there's something special. It's almost like there's something special about having your clothes made. It feels like, oh, this is like an old timey thing. This is cultural. This is, you know, whatever. So I think I get what you're saying, but that's how I've justified its existence in my mind in Star Trek. Like, it's sort of like a custom cultural, like, oh, this is a cool thing. Even though I don't need, it's more of a luxury than a necessity now. But the directing is bad, and also don't give us an episode where they all have to do I like a game episode, but don't give us a game episode where I'm figuring it out very quickly. None of those challenges were difficult. It was very clear every time. Like, the Deep Space Nine crew were not geniuses figuring out this stupid fucking game. And the game had no real rules. And you didn't... The point of having a game, which we'll get into my zhuzhing, the point of having a game and using your characters, especially a group of characters, and especially doing it in the first season of a show, is to use it to show... To demonstrate the character or history or background or something of your characters. Like, it's how you reveal if one of them is claustrophobic. It's how you reveal if one of them has a trauma or one of them, you know, is really good at a thing. It's how you, like, reveal character traits and, like, special expertise. It would have been a really great episode to just get more insight into the specific characters by giving them like a challenge that's sort of bespoke to them as a character. And that's totally wasted on some bullshit Chutes and Ladders. ALLAMARAINE.
Move along home.
Yeah, what did you like and dislike about this episode?
A lot of the beats will be the same as yourself. I liked the idea of the Jake Ben stuff more so than maybe the execution, right. But it was lovely to have character moments. Odo is great in this episode. And especially that "don't call me Constable," knowing full well that, well, if you don't like being called Constable, Odo, you're going to have a bad 7 years.
Right.
Quark is excellent. I actually thought, props to Follow, he manages to camp up his sinister without going too much.
Yeah, I mean, they had him in stupid fucking makeup and the whole look of it was... I mean, yeah, to your point, they didn't have a lot of money, but... I mean, they could have done the thing that Deep Space Nine did in later seasons where they didn't have money, which is that, like, you made the game, like, it's happening on an abandoned station. Like, the station is suddenly, it's a simulation of the station. Like, that's how you can save the money and then spend it on...
Have you read my notes?
Ooh, okay. So I'm already clear that we have very different interpretations. So we got to dig into that. For those of you listening that you sensed an audio change in my audio. I just realized I had my microphone facing backwards, so I don't know how the first half of that sounded. You may have gotten it on Zoom. This is early. This is like early DS9. We're still figuring things out, so apologies if that sounded nuts. And we'll be right back after this break to set our phasers to Zhuzh. Welcome back, and ALLAMARAINE to all of you. We are going to Zhuzh this episode, and since this is Sean's episode, he gets the first crack. What do you got for us?
Okay, well, so I'm actually keeping most of the coda and Act 1 as it is, because I'm very conscious of last week I blew my entire season's budget in one go. So I'm being really, really, really conscious about budget in this one. But I think I've got a good direction this can go in.
So the Wadi is a fleet of starships. They're going to attack Earth.
Exactly. And all
Sela
of it
has to
models.
come in.
All of it done with live-action models. Because
right.
I really want to make a lot of hard work for ILM and getting there.
Right. And there's a time travel aspect to the wormhole. The original Enterprise comes through. We have William Shatner back. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. I love this. We're on the same page. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's cool. Right. Okay. So basically, right up to the moment where Sisko wakes up in the game, as is. Okay. Then, however, similar to Empok Nor, we're going to be on the empty station, so we're going to save a lot of money in this week. But I think you take what you know, and that makes it slightly creepier. Right. So, I literally have notes written here. Save on all of the alien makeup. We're going to get a fair amount of Cardassians. Don't get rid of your extras. Get rid of your promenade. Get rid of all of them. I want Cardassians in this episode, right? We're going to start off in Ops. And there is a raging party happening. So a bit similar to the room with the gas. So partying like crazy, ignoring them completely, but sort of shuffling them toward the center of Ops, where the table should be, but the table isn't there. All around them, there's this kind of like deep booming, like a drum in the background, or like industrial sounds. That's kind of the backdrop to everything that's happening. And with camera trickery, I want to do an awful lot of like make the room look cavernous. You can do that kind of fisheye lens, just to kind of make it seem a lot bigger than it is. Make Ops seem a lot taller. Like the office is much further away than it actually is. Really play with perspectives in this bit. Really dial up the what is going on, because in my version script, we're not going to visit Quarks. So once we're in the game, we're in the game.
Okay.
So. Camera. Central table is gone. There is your ALLAMARAINE board. The ALLAMARAINE has to stay. I'm sorry. There is no Move Along Home without the ALLAMARAINE song, right? But this time, rather than just get across the thing, it's going to be like the floor is too hot. Bit like that game, The Floor is Lava. The floor is too hot to touch. You have to go on the ALLAMARAINE board, and it's forcing them toward the transporter, because the transporter's in Ops. So what you have then is all of these faces, they are Cardassians on one side of the room and Bajorans on another side of the room, and the laughter starts to become shouting and screaming at each other. Like you still have everyone just kind of confused moving along the ALLAMARAINE board. They stop and look around, and there's players in front of them and behind them that are kind of almost conga-ing them towards the transporter. The dance brings the transporter. As they stand up there, as Trek does, they're like, well, maybe we can beam out of here, because they don't realize they're in a game yet, but we can beam out of there. As everyone in the room turns to look at them, shouts, "Move along home." A firing squad takes aim. The transporter starts to go, and they vaporize Bashir.
Yeah.
End of Act 2. So, because Act 1 being the same as it is. So there's going to be a darker episode, right?
Yeah.
So they've beamed down to the promenade. So you have your standard moment of, hey, Bashir dead? What the hell? So they then, it seems as though it's going to be shot and filmed as if they've met the prophets. That kind of, that heartbeat sound.
Yeah, and the white light, yeah.
Sisko is told that he has left his path. Dax is told that she's going to fail the legacy of the symbiont. And Kira is told that she's just lost another friend to the Cardassians. The prophets then freeze, so does the promenade. Literally, ice starts to blow. And in ice, I mean, it's Hollywood. Someone's standing there with a fire extinguisher.
Right.
And, that freezes over. The noise goes up to 90, as loud as we can get away with. It's going to be a real assault on the senses. Obviously, they're going to be the same. Sounds of screams, sounds of chasing, erupting into flames. So your fire then comes out of your standard, rocks and flames everywhere, pushing them toward the turbo lift. The doors open. Bashir appears behind them, dressed in his best 90s dead look. So you know that, where he's got a little bit of rouge on his cheeks, and somebody's messed up his hair, and he's dead. Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, "Come with me," and grabs them, pushes them all, and they all go down the turbo lift. End of Act 3.
Tower of Terror, haunted house, Deep Space Nine. Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Act 4, they land in the ore processing unit. Now, it's the ore processing unit as it was under the occupation. You have screaming and broken Bajorans lying all over the place. And as they're looking to try and find a way out, the doors open, and sure, who do you think is going to walk in? We saved our money because we're paying for Mark Alamo to arrive in this week's episode.
Right.
Now, and he walks out holding a miniature Chula game. So he's holding it in his hand, and that's really our first main. Well, obviously, apart from the fact that we're not stupid, we realize it probably is the Wade, but the connection to this game. Now, speaking as only Mark Alamo can speak, move along home, Commander. How will I do that? Sacrifice one that everyone else might live. Standard Trek refusal. Then Dukat smiles and says, "Of course." Dukat turns and kills Dax. Dukat then goes basically full devil, and you are in hell. There's flames all around them. Kira rigs the ore processing unit to blow up. Massive white light. The Wade are all applauding. This has been their version of the holodeck. Their version of the holodeck, their Chula, it pulls from your own memories and imagination. So you've got Kira's memories of the occupation. You've got the imagination of what Dukat could actually be. And then you have a little bit of Wolf 359 in Sisko's head as well. Dax, pick whatever memory you like, and you have Bashir's fears of everything. All get put into this one thing. They're all badly shaken. The Wade say that they were great fun, and they're going to move along home, basically just to get that episode in there. So, and that is it. So it's kind of Star Trek does horror a little bit. So we still get, it's still a game.
Okay.
It's still, there's still, we then find out there's actually no stakes. But it's a bit more of assault on the senses. We lose the kind of comedy element of Quark, because I think one of the big problems with this episode is the pacing is all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Also, I didn't love the Quark, please. It was the same, it was like the director gave the same note to him that he gave to Kira, which was like, just go for it, baby. Like, it was too much. But I did like that it showed Quark, like it gave Quark it showed the first humanity of Quark.
Yes, absolutely.
So I did like that. So, okay, so I like this. I like it. You kept the game, you kept the Wadi, you kept First Contact, you saved the budget so you could get Dukat, who's always a welcome addition to any Deep Space Nine episode, by getting rid of the Wadi's like special magic, playhouse, and made it more, and kept it on the station. I do think this is certainly, in my view, that is a perfectly producible episode.
Yes, it's going to be the first one I've suggested that's actually producible. Yeah.
Oh no, I thought Sub Rosa was producible, and Shore Leave. It was just the last one. Yeah, I like that. So mine is fairly similar. Noted differences, but mine's fairly similar because I didn't want to break the format. It's still a First Contact. It's still the Wadi. It's still a game. I originally put it So I'm not putting it on the station.
Okay.
I am still keeping sort of a Bizarre World game. I'm just really this is now again where Jack's just tweaking around the edges.
Cool.
So okay, I am not keeping I'm keeping most of the first act like you as well. The teaser in the first act. I am not keeping the I'm keeping the Ben Jake stuff. But I'm changing the topic of conversation to be less about like girls and more about the whole like Nog influence thing, because I thought that was a great storyline through the early years of Deep Space Nine of sort of like Nog's a bad influence, and I want it to be sort of like and you can use the have it that Nog is having Jake look at women that way, or Nog is the influence where Jake is, and Ben is sort of noticing this and trying to tell him about like Ferengis, and he doesn't like, and we've seen it in other episodes, but he doesn't like you hanging around Nog, and we can kind of have like Jake's not all Ferengis sort of this and that. That's not who Nog is. That might be other Ferengis that you've dealt with, but that's not who Nog is. I know Nog, I hang out with Nog, and that setting up a little conflict between the two of them, and because quite frankly, this is a way in which Star Trek is, has a blind spot towards its own racism in a way, is that they treat entire species as a monolith. All Klingons are this, all Romulans are this. Yeah. And you occasionally get like the rando, like, but I'm the one that's different, rather than having like a diversity of thought. And Deep Space Nine did a great job by the end of doing that with the Klingons and the Ferengis. But in the beginning, there was a lot of like, and TNG did it too. All Ferengis are shifty hucksters that aren't as smart as our, main cast. Nefarious and amoral and all of that. Anyway, so you set up that it's the theme that I want to set up to this is it's words over actions. That actions speak louder than words. That is the theme of the episode, and it's so we're setting that up with Jake and Ben about talking about Nog, and like Jake's like, I hang out with Nog, I know who Nog is, I'm friends with Nog, you can't tell me who my friends are, blah blah blah. So at the same time, we know that the Wadi are coming. It's a big event because it's the first contact from the Gamma Quadrant. They show up when we get a scene on Ops first, and this is important because it sets up what's going to happen later, which is that we get some note from Kira or Dax, or we give Dax a line that when the Wadi approach, they are doing a very detailed scan of the station, and it's something they hadn't. It's in a way that's like off and not standard. Like, it's very detailed, and maybe when we see it, sometimes Star Trek does that, like, wash of light where they're, like, scanning the whole ship, they do that. So we see that, and it's like, Ben sort of brushes, like, he makes a note about it, but it seems strange, like, well, maybe this is just, this is the first contact for them, too, and they need to know us, make sure, no weapons, no shields, everything, we're friendly, we're friends, blah, blah, blah. So they make contact. The Wadi on the screen seem disinterested. Like, they're just Ben, and they're all pomp and circumstance on the Ops side, all in dress uniforms, we're so happy to meet your acquaintance, and Wadi's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they're all kind of like, okay. So then they dock, they come aboard, and the whole time it's this sort of like, it's almost similar to we've already talked about this episode, funny enough, but TNG's Liaisons, where like the people that they meet are being like weirdos. So it's the same. It's like they just don't really give a shit. Maybe they throw a state dinner in the wardroom. They're bored. They're not paying attention. They're not offering anything. They finally get to Quarks after the dinner. Ben and Jadzia and Bashir, Kira, they're all there. They're having little comments about like, I don't know what it takes to impress these fucking people. Like, whatever. So they get to Quarks. Quark is being Quark. He's like, he wants to introduce them to Dabo, and he makes some comment about like, I always love people who don't, my favorite players of Dabo are people who don't know the game. Like, I want to cheat these fucking people. And Ben gives him, Sisko gives him a warning, like, don't. And of course, Quark can't resist, so they play the game. The Wadi are having a good time, and they're making comments about, so the staff is playing with them.
And we can even have a moment where like Ben is like, "You're giving us credits to do this because we're not paying money for this.
Yeah,
Like you're letting us do this. You owe me." So the staff, has unlimited whatever to play, so they're not really at risk. And the Wadi make comments about that. Like, well, you have nothing to lose here. What does this mean to you? You have nothing to lose here. And the Wadi are making comments about like, Jadzia, like, Kira's more of a risk taker. Bashir is more of a this. Jadzia is more of a this. And they're really like, this is the most they've been engaged the entire time. They're really like breaking down people by how they play the game and like learning. They catch Quark cheating. And it erupts in a way that's just like, they've been disinterested, now they're kind of interested, and now they're fucking furious. And they like, you go to Quark, see, this is who you are. This is who you are. Words, 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 words. This is who you are. And they storm off and go back to their ship. Ben is furious at Quark. They don't know what to do. And we're really getting the sense that it's like these people like, they don't trust you, they don't know you until they see how you behave. It's nothing about, all this, and so that's why all the diplomatic stuff is falling flat. All the conversations are flat. So they go back to the ship. They go up to Ops, they call them again, they're being like, we're sorry about the misunderstanding, Quark is not representative of the Federation, blah, 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 and they're talking, and the Wadi again are just like, it's talk, 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 and they hit some button, some comm panel on their bridge. There's a flash, and the people who were at the Dabo table are now in the game. Because how the Wadi do first contact is they put you through a test to truly know you. They want to truly know these people. And so that gives us our way of sort of like learning the character. Also, so Odo is called because the senior staff have disappeared. The ship is now not, like, the Wadi are not responding. They have shields up. They don't know, Odo is trying to figure out where they've gone. They eventually, so we still have a game. They play a game. It's more dangerous. I don't have the specific beats of the game, but it's clear that it is, like, you can get hurt. Maybe someone gets, maybe Jadzia does get her, like, leg, trapped or whatever. But the point of the game, as they find out, is that there is the head person of the Wadi, to the people in the game, that person is in danger. They're either in a room where there's fire, or there's been an explosion, or air is running out. There is something where they are in danger, and they're seeing what they will, like, what are they going to try to rescue the person? Would they leave them be? And that's sort of like, that's how they're judging their character. Like, what will you do in a crunch? And we'll have, sort of like a, Jadzia's hurt and she can't continue, and she tells them, like, it's, go, it's more important, leave me. And it's all of these things of, like, showing the true character of these people and what they'll do, and that they'll sacrifice themselves to save someone else. And that is then what repairs the relationship. But the B story, what's going on behind, is they figure out, because they finally get back in touch with the Wadi, they figure out that they're in this game, they're doing this simulation, and, Odo is furious, you can't do this, this and that, and they say, well, if you would like to participate, and show us the challenges that you would like them to accomplish, you want to show us who you are, and Odo begrudgingly enlists Quark, the expert resident on games,
Of course.
to help set up obstacles that Quark knows these people could figure out. And it plays to what he knows about Dax, to what he knows about Bashir, and it gives Quark that sort of like, yeah, I'm not being totally nice, like, I'm putting these people through hell, but I know they'll be okay. Like, they got it. Like, I know these guys. We've been together for a couple months. Like, they're Starfleet. They'll figure it the fuck out. And that's where we can still give Quark his humanity, in that he's kind of, you think, especially through Odo's reactions, that, like, you're making them do what? Like, and Quark's just very much like, buddy, they got this, and so you can see Quark, you think maybe Quark is like uncaring, but actually he is masterminding to make sure nothing truly happens to them. And then
stubbed toe so you don't get a broken foot, that kind of way.
Right. And that gives Quark his humanity. That gets a game played. By the end, they do not rescue the Wadi person in the game, but they've done everything they possibly can to do it. And so when the game is over, the Wadi are, now we know who you are. We know who you are, you know. And to give to try to give a tidbit of the original episode, and the thing that is so key about it is that the ceremony of what they do for first contact, this sort of game tournament play, is called the ALLAMARAINE.
I like it. Still got to keep the ALLAMARAINE in there somewhere, so that works for me.
Somewhere. No song, no hopscotch, no none of that. But that would be my judging.
I like
of
it.
This episode.
So it keeps the essence of the episode it's still as Bashir said, it's still the kind of rats in a maze kind of thing.
Right.
But it's...
And they're aware of it, but they don't, they have to find out in it that, like, you'll have, it's almost similar to Shore Leave, where it's like, it takes McCoy getting killed for them to be like, oh shit, no wait. Like,
stuff can happen here. Yeah.
Stuff can happen here. So we'll have, those sort of moments and that sort of stuff. But yeah.
Okay.
Keep the game, keep the first contact, keep Quark, keep I think I don't think I've shunted everything except that fucking song. But maybe because I didn't plan out what the new games are. The games have to be different because the games were so stupid and easy. It's kind of, did you see the first Harry Potter movie where at the very end, there's like the chess game and Ron like sends himself to get like sacrificed, like that level of stuff where it's like, maybe even through it, like we lose a character each time, to give ourselves those sort of add stakes. Yeah. So I didn't plot out exactly what the games are, but they also have to be. I like they walked into that room and then they start coughing and everyone's drinking. It's like, oh, drink the thing. Like, it's just like, this is, and Memory Alpha described it as like, oh, it's so Lewis Carroll. It's like, it's not. It really is not.
It's not. Even arguably, like, I've had nearly 30 years to sit in this, and mine doesn't go far enough to call it Lewis Carroll.
Right.
I'll say that. Mine is more, I kind of went Dante's Inferno with mine. I think what you could do with that, so, yeah, get rid of the coughing room. Have it that, like you said, that the audience doesn't figure it out in 2 seconds. Make it, like, basically an escape room.
Ooh, yes. That's basically what it is. That's exactly it. It's an escape room, which I love to do on a first date or a second date. I like to do an escape room on a second date because it's similar to the Wadi. I want to see how you act under pressure. How do you treat these strangers when you're all trying to figure out a puzzle? Like, how do you talk to people?
First date and you don't like the person, escape room is a terrible idea. Second date, you know well enough that you want to see them a second time.
We go out. How are you going to treat me when we're under pressure? How are you going to talk to me? Like,
exactly.
Because I went on one with someone who was like, all right, idiots, everyone shut up. Like, I got this. And I'm like, ooh, I know exactly who you are now. This is not going well. But no, it's the escape room. And maybe even, I'm thinking about it in real time, maybe instead of building this weird fantasy world, we build the Wadi ship. And they think for a while that they've been transported to the Wadi ship and there's been a massive, like, issue. And so they're on the Wadi ship trying to rescue the Wadi people. And that's the game, instead of, like, fantasy world.
Yeah.
And we give them, like, real time, like, gotta get this force field down. Gotta redirect, kind of like how, Riker and Data work through the ship in disaster. Like, gotta stop this, gotta break this circuit, gotta do that. And we lose someone each time. Yeah. So, that is our judging of Move Along Home.
I think, my opinion of that is that it didn't take very much,
No.
I think, to improve the episode. I think there is a solid base there. They were hampered by a few things. The lack of budget shows in the episode as presented, I think. And I think it's much more sinister than they played it.
And the game was also lit. It had that, like, TV lighting, which I excuse on Next Generation because everything was lit that way. But on Deep Space Nine, like, they filmed the station. They lit the station very brooding. Like, there were moments in, like, quarters where there was only, like, 2 strips of light coming through. And, like they played more with lighting in Deep Space Nine, so I don't understand why they didn't play more with lighting here. Why it was just, like, a flat exposure, everything just bright. So it didn't seem scary. They tried to do it with a couple weird camera angles, but I don't know.
And it's like you said as well. You said David Carson. Sure, David Carson, Yesterday's Enterprise, Generations, and Emissary.
Like, what happened here?
It kind of feels like maybe he had done all those, got tired. Well, he hadn't done Generations yet at that point, but got tired, and then was just like, here is some dudes with some face paint. Go on ahead now. Sorry, David Carson, if you're listening to this now and going, that is not at all what happened. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what the experience was on the set.
So we've learned David Carson needs a budget to excel. David Carson needs a budget to excel. All right. So this is the point of the show where we would talk about what you thought of our previous zhuzhing. So make sure you're interacting with us on Instagram and all of the things.
But Jack has censored every single message that's come through. Please send help. Oh, no.
I take no criticism. All of our ideas are perfect. But until we have that feedback, it's time to announce next week's episode.
I'm positively horny with anticipation, Jack. What do you have?
Horny with anticipation. That's the name of my memoir. So, okay, we have talked. Speaking of horny, we have talked. There's an episode that has been sort of referenced throughout our time here on Star Trek Zhuzh-erations. It's been brought up a couple times. It's a series that we haven't tackled yet, and I think is full of episodes that need zhuzhing. This is just probably the most zhuzhable. And so I was very tempted to pick this episode because it seems inevitable. And Sean, while I would love nothing more than to spend an hour with you breaking that warp barrier and having forbidden lizard sex, I honestly feel personally attacked by your previous choices. And so I have no choice but to take you up that long ladder, baby. Fiddly fucking D, you Irish fuck. Fiddly fucking D! We going up the long ladder!
Oh,
we going all the way up that long ladder, baby!
Nice misdirect. Yes. Nice misdirect. I thought we were going to take this podcast to salamander speed.
No, we washing feet. We gonna wash some feet, Sean. We go into that cargo bay and wash some feet with these Irish fucks. Yes, Star Trek hates Irish people. Star Trek hates Irish people.
All right. Okay. I see what this relationship is.
Fiddly fucking D. Oh, I cannot wait. I do not remember anything. Right. The only things I remember about this episode are there are goats in the cargo bay. Someone washes someone's feet. There's a lady in a midriff. No idea what it.
There's also a massive right to life message in the episode.
Don't remember that one. Don't remember that. We're transporting Irish colonists. Star Trek had a weird TNG, especially because we've already done Sub Rosa with the weird Scottish colony, where it's like for some reason this like cultural group, and they did it with the Native American planet in season 7, right? Where it's like it's weird. It's like in the 24th century, we really just take like a pocket of Earth culture and say, you get a planet and you get a planet. Is this fucking Oprah? Like, what are we doing? It's weird. Oh, and by the way, 24th century style. Maybe that's why conservatives or Republicans like Star Trek, because there are these weird episodes where it's like, we just went back to basics and we're all white Irish people and we get our own planet. Yay. Maybe that's why. I don't know. There are these weird episodes where it's like, oh, and then when they try to do it with a non-white culture, we get something like Code of Honor, which we got to stay far away from.
Woof. Didn't happen. No, we can't pretend it didn't happen. We can only do better.
All right. So join us next week where
we
did Chutes and Ladders today. We're going up the long ladder next week.
Interesting. All right. Well, I have been your filled with trepidation host, Sean Ferrick, and I may or may not be here next week.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms. All right. We will see you next week. Thanks, everybody. From my ready room to yours, have a great week.